Hi everyone. In last sessions, what we discussed? We discussed the how to running the real world application using of the Docker images. Because we are writing the right now Docker file. No, we are not writing any Docker file. Just existing Docker images. We are going to use it and we are going to run our application. But that application is a running real world application. We know that. What is the Docker? Docker is nothing but it is a Dockerization process. So it is a containerization process. Whatever we want to software we require to execution our application. So that time we are going to use our Docker concept. So yesterday we already deployed in last sessions we already deployed one Java Spring Boot application. So just we use the simple Docker images. So that Docker images I used, I pulled. Then after that, what I have done, then I have run that images. After that, we discuss the how to run our images in the detached mode. Then after that, what we discuss the how to map the host port and container port. So you can use the different port, but it's a better you can use same port number. Whatever we writing the our application code at that time I use the 8080. It's better we can going with same container port number 8080. So it is difficult to and so it is easy to understand, not a difficult. So that is the we are in the detached mode. After that, we once we host that application, so we are access the that public IP. By using of that public IP, we use our port number and we can access our application. So we deployed one Spring Boot, Java Spring Boot application. So I wrote some code. By using of that code, I created one Docker file. So whatever I have the technology, so based on my technology, based on my requirement, I write, I have the written that file for the Docker process. So once created that file, I build that file. So once build that file, then we are going to create the images. So that images already I stored in my Docker registry, Docker hub. So what is the Docker hub, Docker registry? Docker registry, Docker hub is nothing but we can say called as it is a repository for future references. We can use it. So that is the we have. So already you can see here that I created one .NET application here. I created one Docker file. That Docker file we will discuss later on in upcoming session how to write it the Docker file and how to build that Docker file and how to push that images into my Docker registry or Docker hub. So I built that file and I created here and I pushed that images. So this is the simple application I created, not enterprise level. I created the application here. Just I'm going to use it. Welcome to our classes or something like that. So you can suppose if you you have the knowledge about of the programming, then you can write it the some codes and you can deploy your application by using of the Dockerization process. So after that, I'm going to deploy the what I'm going to deploy here. So I'm going to deploy the give me 1 minute here. This is my application. So now I'm going to deploy the my application. Where I'm going to deploy? I'm going to deploy the application in my EC2 instances. So where we have the EC2 instances, we have the EC2 instances in our AWS account. So in that we have the one host machine, we have the one container machine. So in that in two machines, I want to create a one relation that is called as a port mapping. So we are going to use it the port mapping. How we can deploy the our .NET application? So you can see here. So I want to deploy the .NET application. Then what we have to do here? So we have to same procedure like so. I connected my virtual machine. After that, I logged in my Docker application here. So I used here the Docker desktop. So if you want to install the Docker desktop, you can install it. Otherwise, you can use web application. So number of multiple videos on the YouTube. You can search how to install the Docker desktop. So I'm going to use here the personal account. So if you are using the enterprise level or organization level, then it will be asked what type of account you want to use it. Here I'm going to use it here the only personal account. So just you have to enter the your personal email ID. Whenever we are going enterprise level, organization level, then you have to enter the your organization email. So that is the Docker desktop. So once we install it, it's easy process. Just you have to select the WSL. So WSL is nothing but we are using the Windows machine. So we want to update into the Linux because we are using the Linux concept everywhere because we are whenever we deploying our process into the Linux only. So no one are using the Windows operating system to deployment our process. So any kind of the application I want to deploy, then what we have to do, we have to use the Linux operating system. So just you have to update the WSL from your command prompt. So it is nothing but administrator permission you have to given from your side. That is your Windows operating system. Once you update it, then you can just you have to restart your Docker desktop and you have to restart your application window. Sorry, not your Windows. You have to restart your system. Then you can use your Docker desktop here. So this is my images, this is my container. Then you can see here the volume Kubernetes. We will discuss in upcoming sessions. You can see here the Docker Hub here. So if you want to search Docker Hub, then you can search here the each and everything you will get it here. So this is my images. So whatever we have the images, that images I'm going to run it. How to execute that images? So let's see. So this is we have. So first I want to pull that images because where from where we are going to pull that images, we are going to pull that images from our Docker Hub, Docker registry because I've already pushed my images in my Docker registry or Docker Hub. Then Docker pull, then my image name is a dev. This is my account name. Then you can use here the I used here like this. This is the my account. Then direct like this I used here. Then my application name. Sorry, my application name is dev test build. Make sure you have to enter same application here, then application. So once you can see here the, did I use here the latest one? No, I didn't use here the any latest. You can see here the using the default tag latest because always our Docker, whenever we pulling that images, that time it will be always take the latest one images. Okay, not older versions. So this is the so you have to enter the image ID, otherwise you have to enter the image name. So suppose I want to pull that old image, then you have to enter the that old image ID. So that will be process here. After that, what we have to do? I want to run this image. Then how we can run it? Docker run. Then in detached mode, then we are going to port mapping here. So what is the port mapping? Port mapping is nothing but I'm going to establish the connections between the host machine to the container machine. There is no relation between the my host machine and container machine. We don't know our container we are going to create it. We don't know the container machine's IP addresses. So that's why I'm going to establish the connection between the here the by using of the port mapping. After that, I used here the port 5000 here. You can use the same port number for the container port number here. So you can use here the same port number. After that, what we have to do? So my image name. So what is the my image name? Dev 90 then dev, test, build, then app. So I'm going to run it. So once we run it, you can see here we are in the detached mode. So you can execute multiple commands. If we are interactive mode, then can we access another command? No, we cannot execute another command. You have to exit that command. You have to exit, you have to terminate that program. Then you can execute the multiple command. Suppose I want to check the logs for my container, then what we have to do? We have to use same like this. You can see here the once we execute, then you can see here the once we use here the Docker PS. Docker PS is nothing but we can see the running container. How many running containers here? We have the only one running container here. It is created 6 seconds ago. You can see here the status 5 seconds. So this is my port number 80 TCPs, but you can see here the I use here the port mapping of the 5000. So you can use anything here while you creating the code. At that time you have to decide because we are not mapping any URL patterns here. So we will map later. We will map the your domain name later on. But right now we have to use the port number because we are using here the deploying. We are using the deploying processes here. So I want to access that one. So when we how we can access that one? So if I want to access that one, so then what we have to do? Already I added the 5000 in my inbound rule in security inbound rule here. So you can see here the in that security group. So you can see here the 5000 already added, 8080 added, then 80 also added. So there is no need to add again same port number. So whatever we have the incoming traffic from that 5000, so it is going to allow it. So just I'm going to instruct to my inbound rule here. So once we instruct that inbound rule, then what we have to do? So we have to click on that instance ID and just you have let me copy the public IP here. So in the details tab, you have to copy that public IP addresses. Then once we copied, then we have to paste it here. Then you have to enter the 5000. So you can see here can we access our application? Yes, we can access our application successfully because whatever we are going to create it at that time, I use the 5000 port here. So I created one simple code. After that, what I have done, so I have written the one Docker file. So that Docker file, I'm going to build it. And that Docker file, once build it, then I'm going to convert it into the image. Once it is converted into that images, then once we execute that image, then what we are going to do here, so it will be create a one container. Once it is created container, then you can deploy your application successfully. Just you have to copy that machine's public IP addresses. Then you have to decide it whatever we have the port mapping. Then you have to enter into the edit in that inbound rule. Then you have to enter that port number. Then you can access your application successfully. You can see here that I deployed simple application here. So it's a real-time process. Whenever we deploying of the Dockerization process, then we will discuss in upcoming sessions later on. So how we can write it, the Docker file and each and everything. So just we have the simple deployment process here. You can see here this is my Docker file. I have written here the Docker file, then expose the 80, then entry point, then .NET dev, this you can see here the DLL file. So what is the DLL file? So what whenever we using of the .NET technology at that time it will be create a DLL file. So that's why we are going to use here so whenever we are going to use the Java technology at that time what we have the two files. One is the jar files, another is a web archive. That is called the we can say called the web files. So jar file. So same like this. So suppose I want to write it the same Docker file for the Java technology. Then what we have to do? We have to use some keyword. You can see here this is the keyword. Then from then working directory, then copy, run, then from working directory. So in upcoming session, first we will learn these keywords. After that, we are going to write out the one Docker file. Then we are going to deploy our same process by using of the we are going to use same process we are executing, and we are execution our application code, and we can access our application anywhere because we deployed the application publicly, so anyone can access my application, anyone can access my application by using of this URL. Suppose I stop my machine, then can we access it? Suppose suppose I'm using here the suppose I'm using here the stop my container, then can we access our application? You can see here the how we can stop our application. You can see here Docker stop. Then you can see here the PS. Can we see here the running container? No, there is a no running container in my virtual machine. Then can we access our application here? Let's see. This is my dev test build classes. I'm going to refresh it. Can we access our application? No, we cannot access our application because my container is stopped. Once our container is stopped, then we cannot access our application. Once our container is running, then we can access our application. So this is the we learned here the so how we can deploy the different technologies applications. So suppose I want to deploy the Java application technology related, then you can write it the one Docker file. Then you have to build that Docker file. Then you have to create that images. Once our images is created, then we are going to create it the container by using that images. Same for the .NET application. Same for we can follow the same for the process for the Python application also. So whatever you want to use the technology, you can use it and you can deploy your application. Suppose my application based on the Python, then what we have to do? So we have to write it the same thing, but you have to use the Flask concept. So Flask is nothing but whenever we using of the deploy the Python at that time, we have to go with Flask. You can search on the Google, you will get the answer. So after that, what is the port mapping we discuss? So by default, service running inside that Docker container, because our Docker container is a isolated, non-accessible from the outside because there is a no relation. So that's why we are going to use the Docker port mapping process. So Docker port mapping is a process of the link container of the port to the host machine port. So it is used to allow the external access to application running inside the container. So whatever we have the external access, then we are going to allow it based on our port number. Then we can access our application. So in upcoming session, we will start our Docker file concept. Before going to write it the Docker file, so we have to learn the 9 keyword. First one is a from, then we have to use the run command, cmd copy, then add work directory, then expose entry point. These, and also one is a keyword I missed, maintainer. So these 9 keywords we have to learn first, because from is nothing but it is used to the specific base image required to run our application. Suppose from open JDK 17. So I'm going to use like from open JDK 17, from Python, from Tomcat, like this I'm going to use it. So that type of keyword first we will learn it. So what is the use first these 9 keyword? After that we are going to write it the one Docker file. So after once we completed the Docker file, then we will discuss next of our topic. So in the upcoming session, we will learn in deep dive for the Docker file because this is the most important thing. After that, we will learn our some Docker concepts. So which is we require, which is very important, and we can call it a mandatory. First, we should learn this concept. After that, once we complete it, then we are going to jump on a Kubernetes concept, because whatever we have the Docker Hub, Docker registry, already we learn it. Just we have to push that one. So in upcoming session, we will learn it. So the first one task, most important thing is the Docker file. Once we complete the Docker file, then Docker Hub, registry, this is the simple thing. Just we have to follow the same concept. Then you can push and pull that image. Already we are going to pull that images, but after that we have the Docker Compose also. So Docker Compose is the most we have to first learn the how to set up the Docker Compose. Then we will go with our execution process one by one. So this is the our .NET execution application process here. If I want to execute my application code by using of the Docker, then you have to follow this process. So we deployed two application, two type of the technology. One is a Java and one is a .NET. In upcoming session, we will start our Dockerfile. I think we should stop here. So thank you guys.